Hello, hello. This is Traci Harrell, and welcome to Bigger Than Me. Each week, we focus on how to achieve your definition of success and happiness. On Bigger Than Me, we bring together a combination of ageless wisdom, the latest research, and engaging interviews with amazing people who are sharing their stories to help each of us achieve our full potential. Your journey to transformation begins right now. Let's do this. All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
The journey to transformation.
Yes.
I am so excited today. On Bigger Than Me, we are talking to Debrina Jackson Gandy, and you are a juicy woman.
I hope so.
That's something you came up with. Tell us, first of all, what is a juicy woman? What is a juicy? I know it's about experiencing divine joy, abundance, and success. That's what I'm reading here.
She's the opposite of a parched, dry woman.
All right now.
And unfortunately, this Western American culture can have you be parched and dry if you're not careful. So a juicy woman, however, there's a few dimensions.
I'm so excited.
I mean, the word, first of all, juicy woman, you kind of get a sense, right? Succulent, dripping with sweetness. Just the word juicy, right? If you think about juicy fruit. But in terms of my teachings and what my commitment is in terms of helping women elevate to living life from the level of a juicy woman, she has a clear mind. And we can't take that for granted. A lot of us are overwhelmed, mind distracted, thoughts like a runaway train. So a clear mind.
I love that.
A well body. And we have a specific definition of well when it comes to body, free of medication, pain, and dis-ease disease. And she has a full spirit filled with joy, connects and reconnects to the source of joy every day. She has an open heart, which means that she has to have done her healing and forgiveness work. Most of us have not. And then she wisely manages her energy. So, you know, the Western American construct is with a focus on time, trying to save it and make it and don't waste it. A juicy woman is operating from a very different framework, and it has to do with her energy. So those are some of the dimensions of a juicy woman. And unfortunately, it's an exception. It still is an exception. So I'm working to have more of us be juicy.
You know, and when you encounter a juicy woman, and we're going to use this term now as a recap, to represent a juicy woman is someone. First of all, can these principles apply to men too? Are we excluding half of our
It's not
our
about
audience?
excluding. It's not excluding.
Do these principles apply to men?
I would have a different framework for men.
Yes, please.
So it's juicy woman and then stellar man. So that's a different course and a different focus, but that would be their equivalent. But they're made differently. So it would be different aspects of what would make a stellar man.
I am so excited right now. I am overboard excited because
good.
Mike,
good,
as we
good.
talk about the purpose of this show, we always say that our mission for the show is very simple. We use technology, community, and positive psychology to help good people do great things. I say we tell stories, we share wisdom, we elevate expectations.
Nice.
Right. Our vision also very simple, very much aligned. So when I met you, there's something special about you.
Oh, thank you.
So there's magic. There's that energy.
Oh,
you know, I feel like it was
thank
steel sharpening steel immediately. I'm like, yes, I need a woman like this in my life. Like you're the type of person that I'm so excited to be connected with.
Thank you.
I am actually participating in the Juicy Woman University.
Woo woo. Yes.
Hello. And we're going to talk about the Juicy Woman University because I need all of these things. I feel like I have some of them covered. But there's so many aspects of each of these. A clear mind, someone who's not distracted. I could definitely use some work there.
Right.
I've done a lot of work in the last year focusing on having a clear mind, but people. Today we're going to help you on your journey to having a clear mind, a well body, a full spirit, full of joy. How many of us really want joy every day. I feel like I experience joy and miracles every day. And it's a choice.
Yes.
Would you agree that it's a choice?
No, it's not a choice.
Tell me more.
Because it's part of our divine design. So that's a little bit different. Choice means you can choose not.
Well, people do.
But if it's what we have learned is how to be unhappy, but joy isn't anything you have to choose. You just have to connect to it because it's part of your divine design. So choice really isn't, I guess you could choose not to connect to it, but whether joy is present in your being or not is not a choice. It is. It was put there from the beginning.
I'm sorry, but I love her. I love you. I love that. So I actually have used the term I choose joy. Like I choose joy. But that's why I'm excited about the Juicy Woman University. So even the things that I think I do well. It's been chosen for
us. We just got to connect to it. It's been chosen by the Creator. The Creator already said joy is going to be your first nature. So we don't have to choose it. We need to just recognize it and connect to it, which most of us do neither of the two.
People, let me just say one thing. Normally, when I have someone on this show, I'm all researched in. Like I've already read the books. I've already had numerous conversations. I'm very comfortable, or there's some divine connection where I'm very comfortable with what they're going to say. I'm very comfortable with what you're going to say. But normally I'm bringing out insights from others to help the listening audience on achieving their goals. And that's absolutely what's happening today. I think this is going to be like my best show ever.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm super excited. And of course, I'll have you back multiple times because we only have an hour today. So let's get to it. A juicy woman, by definition, has a clear mind, a well body, a full spirit full of joy, an open heart, and manages her energy
wisely.
Yeah,
we mismanage our energy all the time, but a juicy woman manages her energy wisely.
Can I take this, Mike? He said no. Okay. So, well, I'm going to go to your website at some point. We're going to talk about this in a little bit more details. So one of the things you have, so stay tuned because we are going to go through each of these, the what it is, how they do it, etc. So there's so much you and I could talk about.
Yeah.
We are going to go through each of these. So again, stay tuned. I just wanted to get people excited about who I'm dealing with here. But you have this flyer here for the Juicy Woman Weekend. Mike, I'm going to put this here and see if I can get you to, he gave me a, maybe, oh, you didn't like the, because you said it was too white or too light. Sorry. So I'll try to bring it up online. Are you done with my computer? Okay. So tell us about the Juicy Woman Weekend. It says experiencing divine joy, abundance, and success. This is something that you do, but I'm also part of the Juicy Woman University.
Right.
So which one should we talk about? Okay.
So one is a course that is a prerequisite for being able to attend the weekend, which is a one weekend experience.
Okay.
So you're in Juicy Woman University, which is a 12-month life transformation course. And women that come through that program are eligible to attend the retreat weekend and meet each other live because it's a virtual course, meet each other live and experience paradise and also kind of a graduation ceremony, so to speak. So yeah, they're two separate things, but they focus on juicy women.
I love it. And there's so much that you offer. There's also to my left, there is this, The Love Lies.
Yes. And that's
one of your mini courses. I'm going to pull up your website here. How do people find you? So in case the viewing audience or the listening audience wants to kind of go with me online, we go to the...
So The Love Lies is a book. And the Love Academy is the course.
Okay.
And then the website address is milliondollarmentor.net. milliondollarmentor.net.
Mm-hmm. So you've written how many books?
3 nationally published books.
Did you hear that? 3 nationally published books. So let's talk about your 3 nationally published books. Book number 1.
Sacred Pampering Principles. And that is a book on sacred self-care and inner renewal. The second book is All the Joy You Can Stand. And the subtitle is 101 Sacred Power Principles for Making Joy Real in Your Life.
Wow. 101.
101 Sacred Power Principles.
Wow.
And then The Love Lies, which is on the banner to your left, that's the most recent book. And that is a new paradigm for love relationships. So everything I teach and talk about is really it creates a new paradigm because it's really a break from what we've been taught, what we've been told, what we've been shown that is not working for far too many of us. And so I'm not interested in perpetuating a failed model. And so that's why, GCM University is life transformation. It isn't just information, inspiration, motivation, or 8 steps. It is an overhaul of how you have been taught to perceive yourself and life and move through it as a woman. And you elevate to what we call higher dimension living. And that's a different realm than most people are operating in. So whether it's love relationships, whether it's Juicy Woman University, whether it's my litany of other courses, they tend to be new paradigms. They tend to be transformational because they're talking about the beliefs that we're operating from. And oftentimes beliefs are not addressed. We're just addressing behavior. And beliefs are like the root system below ground that feeds the entire tree. And behavior is only dealing with the branches and the fruit. So transformation lives beyond what the eye can see. Transformation is below ground. And for us, our roots as people are our beliefs. And that is not something that we challenge and explore and examine enough, because when you transform your beliefs, you naturally will have a transformed life. So that's where I put attention as well.
I love you. I'm going to count how many times I say that. I'm very expressive when I connect with someone who's just amazing. So like we have 100%.
You cannot say I love you too much.
Thanks.
So feel free, girl.
People
Let
who
it
know
rip.
me know that I'm like, I have this energy that I just can't, I don't hold it in. And like if I see someone that looks amazing, I'm like, oh my God, like I saw you. I'm like, you look amazing. I can't not say. To me, it's a gift.
That's wonderful.
Right? You look amazing. Like when I see you, I'm like, when I grow up, I want to have that level of, elegance.
Oh,
Your
thank
earrings match your necklace, and you just look amazing. Your shoes, your
you.
toes are done.
Girl, if I'm
I was
having a rough day, I'm going to come see me some Tracy. Like, girl, just talk to me.
It's true.
Just tell me a few things.
You look amazing. And your family is lovely. I had the honor of doing some photography for you guys. So I do have a Bigger Than Me photography and videography business if you want to reach out. And your family's amazing. They're gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
And lovely and good people and kind and just
Yes.
I could feel the love in the space.
Oh, that's good because you can't fake that.
You really can't fake it, especially when you got somebody with a bunch of hot lights over you and stand and pose. Remember the shot that we called the quads shot? When I'm like, bend down, and you guys were all squished together.
Yes. And but it looked so beautiful.
Looked so amazing. You're like, my quads are getting a workout. I'm like, say quads. So in a space where there's like a lot happening, you're right. You can't fake that genuine caring for each other.
Yes.
And throughout the process, it was so nice. And your husband, the night that I did the photography, you were celebrating an anniversary.
Oh, that very night?
It was. Remember, you were going out to dinner for your anniversary.
Oh, yes. That was the third then, the third. And that was our 27th year anniversary. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
That was
juicy marriage.
It's a very juicy marriage. It was so cute. So we're going to have you back to talk about relationships.
Okay.
Deeper.
Yeah, because that's its own subject.
It's its own subject. This whole book about love lies, the going deeper into the principles. Mike, can you show the screen? Do I need to adjust? Can you show it? So what I love about, if you can do a quick flash on and include those all the many places that you've been seen broadcast. It was CNN, Oprah,
media,
ABC, Black Enterprise. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've been very fortunate because it used to be, it's changed a little bit, but it used to be as a nationally published author, you were kind of like a pseudo celebrity back in the day before the arrival of Amazon and the decimation of the independent bookstore. And so at that time, when my first and second books came out, the publishing houses I was with spent a significant amount of time getting you press. And so that's how I was able to be on CNN and CNN Live and Good Day New York and Good Morning Texas and Good Day DC and, local ABC, news affiliates on their morning talk shows, a host of radio shows and podcasts. So, yes, that was really what ushered me into those spaces.
Okay.
And then it gives you a foundation, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
recently I was on Sister Circle, which is a
Yes.
national show that airs out of Atlanta. And because of all the previous media that I had done and TV experience I had, they were like, yes, we want to have you on. And oftentimes it's celebrities they have on their show.
Yes, I know.
So they made an exception and had me on. But I think and know that a lot of it is because of all of the TV experience I
I love.
already had.
Mike, is this what you were showing before? This green? Okay. Just want to make sure. Because my hand, it kind of scanned up. I want to make sure they see it. There's great stuff. So when I went to your site, if you go to courses, there's so much. And then we're going to get to the specifics, but you have like these signature courses. So I'm just going to bring them up and we're going to talk about each one really quickly, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. And then just kind of what you do, just a little information, and then we're going to get into the details. Okay, so we're going to start with
Sure.
you said it really quickly, but I want to make sure. Do I need to adjust the screen at all? Make sure you're still seeing what I'm saying. Yeah. Does that work? Okay, so let's talk about Juicy Woman University. And Mike, let me know. Give me a thumbs up when you're showing it. I'll just have you just show the best you can. So, Juicy Woman University. You said it's a 12-month
Formational
transformational
course. So
12 months. So it really does take 12 months to really
it actually
change
takes
your
longer because if you think about it, we have had, let's say you are a 45-year-old individual, you've had easily 41 years, 42 years of conditioning and programming around a certain way to be, live, relate, engage, do life. And unfortunately, a lot of those ways that we've learned create stress on the body, stress on the spirit, stress
Mm,
in our relationships, financial stress, and we're working against the grain and living against the grain. And so, yes, we need a 12-month program. After 30 years, 40 years, yeah, 12 months, which doesn't even begin to scratch the surface in the big overall scheme of things.
right.
But there's a detoxing that has to take place and then a relearning
Mm,
of some premises and principles that are aligned with a very different realm of living.
I love it.
So if this was just give me 8 strategies, we could do that in a 90-minute webinar. But this is not just a strategies or do this, not this kind of course. It really is overhauling your framework and your
Mm,
foundation for how you perceive yourself as a woman, how those perceive God, because your perception of God affects how you exist and move through your life. Um, we also teach some spiritual principles. A lot of people have never learned any spiritual principles,
mhm.
even those that may identify as being highly religious. They still haven't learned spiritual principles. Um, and
And
then
there is a
there's
difference between spiritual and religious, right?
Well,
I mean,
religious
this.
is man-made. That's man's attempt to reconnect to God, and we've got over
Right.
20,000 religions. But spiritual principles transcend religion because you can have conflicts in religious
Mm-hmm.
interpretation, and so you can get to an altitude where you're dealing with truth, which transcends a particular religion, but it runs through all of them. So the
Exactly.
spiritual principles are focusing on truth. Um, so that, regardless of what religion you may identify with, if you decide to take the course, it doesn't become a hindrance to you.
It
Like,
does
oh,
not. Yes.
there's one religion over another. No, we're actually
It's
talking about
spiritual.
spiritual truths.
You know that one of my favorite books is by Deepak Chopra, and it's The Seven Laws of Spiritual Success. And it's a
Mm,
tiny little book, but it's
yes.
those basic principles around things that we know, right? The cause and effect, the law of karma, the law of dharma, like finding your purpose in life. This
Mm.
concept of the law of least effort. Birds don't try to fly, fish don't try to swim. The things that are just very
Unless they're spawning, then they do swim
well.
upstream. But that's for a very small amount of time
and
relative to their whole life,
and it's the
right?
very end.
That's right.
What I did
But they go with the flow.
they normally go with the
That's
flow
right.
unless they're, yeah, this is
Yes,
true.
they normally go with the
So
flow.
just this concept of people try, like you said, so hard, I think, to be something or
Efforting
be
is the
part.
word we use.
There
And
you
just
go.
we effort so much.
Right.
Yeah.
And the spiritual laws that are generically applied, to your point, really in nature, the higher eagles, their least effort is when they're just catching,
That warm jet stream.
right?
Yes,
They're not flapping around trying to beat, and they
that's
just
right. But we
do what they
haven't been
do.
taught, unfortunately, we've been taught subjects in school. We've been taught manners, hopefully,
Right.
hygiene.
Right.
Um, but the spiritual laws we haven't been taught that apply
Hmm.
to us as human beings in our lives. So unconsciously and unintentionally, so many of us are out of alignment with the spiritual laws, and we're experiencing the byproduct of being out of alignment.
Right.
And we'll say it's the devil, and we want to give so much power to the devil. Everything is the devil's. Like, good Lord, if you understood spiritual law, you'd understand this is just the corrective process occurring because you've been out of alignment.
It's so fun.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So this concept of spiritual, I'm going to stay here for one more second.
sure.
This his seven laws, which I appreciate more than anything, um, because of the generic nature. I had a brother who actually started practicing Buddhism and Hinduism. Like different. We were all raised, Baptist,
Mm.
and we
Yep, me
still
too.
connected so much because it was like there were these spiritual principles that
Yes,
we 100%. There was no question, right? When you want to be your best, and there's some human quest to be our best, to tap into our purpose for being, right?
yes,
There's just some beauty in that. And I know a
yes,
juicy woman
yes.
does some work around her purpose.
No, she doesn't
Maybe the
because,
work is the wrong
well,
term. Does
just
it?
like we were talking about joy, and I said, well, no, it's not a choice. So, um,
I love
when
how
it comes to
your
purpose, though,
choices
when it comes
of
to
words.
purpose, when I did some research on it and looked in scripture, purpose is not personal, and we've made it personal in our misunderstanding. Purpose existed before we were born into it. It called us into being. So the question becomes, well,
Mm,
what's the purpose each of us was born into? Because we did not determine that. The
mm-hmm.
creator of a thing determines the purpose and creates the fulfillment of that. So for us to run around here trying to decide what
Fine.
our purpose is completely out of order and a misunderstanding. Now, can you find your personal mission? Yes. Can you find your personal calling? Yes. Can you find your personal life assignment? Yes, that is personal. But when you say you're trying to find your purpose, you're out of order now. That's already been set. And so in Juicy Woman University, we talk about, okay, well, what is the sixfold purpose each of us is born into? So whether I'm born in India or a country in Africa or I'm born in Iceland, it doesn't vary.
Mm.
So there is a sixfold purpose. And I
Sixfold
identify
purpose.
sixfold purpose. I've distilled it down to six in my
Okay.
research and identify as Christian. So the book of truth that I use and live my life based on is called the Holy Bible. So one aspect of that sixfold purpose is to unlock your inherent greatness. Keyword
Mm.
unlock, keyword inherent. So it's
Mm.
already there, but it's locked up. So unlock your inherent greatness. Every human born into this earthly plane, that is part of your purpose, to unlock your inherent greatness. And you will have experiences and things that happen, and still it's to support or can be interpreted
Mm.
in terms of meaning to support the unlocking of your inherent greatness.
I love that.
Okay? Learn how to more fully give and receive love. That's why there's so
Mm.
much about the heart and forgiveness in all the great religions, which
Mm-hmm.
were really trying to illuminate spiritual truths for mankind. So, thirdly, is to recognize, and that's a big part of
Mm-hmm.
this journey, is just recognizing your inherent gifts, talents, skills, and abilities,
Mm.
and then contributing them in service to yourself
Mm.
and to others. That's the
Mm.
third part of our purpose. And when you think about the experiences that we have, so often out of them, people get more in touch or in tune with their gifts or their
Mm-hmm.
talents, right? So, and then the last three come out of the book of Thessalonians when it talks about what God's will is for we, the creations. And one is to rejoice. Now, the prefix re means return or again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are to continue to return back to joy, which is our first nature, right? And
I love that.
And to be in joy. So you come back to joy. You come back to joy. What do you need to come back to joy? To rejoice, return to joy, because that's our first nature. That's our natural state. Then to give thanks in all things. So
is this number 5?
Number 5.
Okay.
Give thanks in all things. That is about wisdom and maturity. Like no matter what happens and no matter how it looks, ooh, that's tough to give thanks in all things. And then the 6th part of our universal shared purpose as created beings is to pray unceasingly. Now, prayer is 50% of the divine communication formula. So that means that you are in constant connection with Source. It's not to be an exception. It's not to be once I get in a jam.
Right.
God is a 911 call as a medic, right? And so that's our sixfold purpose. So when you look at humans and our experiences and things that happen to us, you can map it back to forwarding or cultivating one or more of that sixfold purpose. So we don't need to speak. So in Juicy Woman University, I'm like, ladies, stop saying you're looking for your purpose. It's already found and you were born into it. Now you might say, I want to find my calling, my mission, my avocation. But let's get our language straight to reflect that our understanding is now straight. So yeah, that kind of turns the purpose apple cart on its ear based upon all the books out there about finding your purpose. But that's not what my research
I'm at number
is
3 or 4. I love you. I do. I absolutely adore you. I adore everything about you.
Oh,
I do. So, Mike, I'm not going to use the computer anymore. So, if we got one, I'm not going to say I'm not going to use it anymore, but we have one camera that's variable. As many close-ups as you can do on this beautiful woman, he's like, I'm in. He's already there.
Okay.
He could feel you were drawing us both in.
Okay.
You were drawing us in. We're halfway through the show.
Oh, my goodness, already.
Can you believe it? So I'm not going to talk about all the. You have to come back. You. So we're going to talk about for the listening audience these principles, these first 5 principles. We're going to go into the how. So when I talk about this show, I say again, our vision is we help real people turn dreams into reality. We turn hope into how, and we build on the power of purpose, destiny, and legacy. So when I say turning hope into how, you like that?
Wow.
That's the vision. You heard the mission, using technology, community, and positive psychology to help good people do great things. That's why I was put on this earth. That's my calling. This work right here is what I love to do. Book number 3 is going to be an invitation to invite everyone to be a part of this bigger than me movement.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to stay focused.
It's a beautiful thing.
So, a juicy woman, as a recap, has a clear mind, a well body, a full spirit, full of joy, an open heart, and manages her energy wisely. So we're going to go through each of these, and we're going to talk about. You got 30 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, and I just want to add a couple things.
Yes,
so
please.
when a woman has made the shift out of the Western American, what I call reboo paradigm, and I'll tell you what that means in a minute, that there are some fruit that the juicy life brings you. So one, as a result of aligning with all these principles, and there's a whole nother set of 8 premises, new beliefs. We don't have time for that today, but it isn't just principles. It's the premises, new beliefs. It's the principles, these 5 you just shared, and new sacred practices that,
so you gotta slow down.
Constitute
So hold on.
the juicy woman lifestyle.
Okay, so I love this. I'm loving her. That was 4 more. So 5 or 6.
It's all good.
So premises
Are the new beliefs.
Premises. How many premises?
8. There's 8 premises we teach. These 5 principles.
Principles. So we got 5 principles, but there's 8 premises.
And then there
new
are
belief.
6 sacred practices and tools. So the premises, new beliefs, the principles, and the practices are what constitute the juicy woman lifestyle. So that's why we need a year.
I'm so excited.
Just to teach this, not to mention what we have to clean out and detox women of. the Rebu lifestyle, ripping and running, efforting, busyness, overwhelm, and overdoing, which is the norm of the Western American culture. So it's a twofold thing. You got to detox and unlearn, and then you got to relearn a whole new,
Oh my
a
goodness.
whole new paradigm. Yeah.
Wow.
It's exciting. It's yummy.
So
and
exciting.
It's powerful and it works.
Huge. So our first session is for Juicy University 2020.
Yes.
Is this Tuesday.
Yes.
The 28th.
Yes, in a few days. 48 hours. Yes.
I'm so excited.
I am too.
Again, what I would normally have done, the type of student that I am, is I would have read everything. You've already sent the sacred syllabus. Yes. We got all the details. I've actually reviewed it all. Quickly, did I tell you my honey's coming back today after being gone for 4 months?
Yes.
Hey, honey, hopefully you're watching. His plane landed at 3:00. I was like, oh, well, I can't come get you. Sorry. Hey, honey, hopefully you're listening in the Uber on your way home. I cannot wait for him to come home. And I say that because, again, he's a special part of my life.
Yes.
And when you talk about being a juicy woman, all these things are so important. You have so many contributions that you're making to individuals. So thank you for that. I'm excited to be able to invest time in connecting with you. It's 12 months, but it's how often?
Twice a month, we come together for 90-minute course calls. Then we have a private Facebook group, and lots of communication goes on there, resource sharing and encouragement. And I will do some live broadcasts in the Facebook group periodically. And then each participant is matched up with a juicy buddy. So you also have an accountability partner for the journey. And then a couple times throughout the 12 months, we have what's called Open Coaching Gym, where I am on the line for several hours and women can call in and get 15-minute lightning coaching sessions.
Wow.
So we've really thought very carefully about the structure. The other day my husband asked, well, how many women finish that start? And I said, get this, 100%. He's like, what? After a year? That's unheard of.
That is
in a course for 12 months, all the women who start at the beginning, and are you kidding me? That's how effective the structure is. How cohesive the community becomes.
I was just going to say, what I love about you is we were talking about this, and I was like, well, of course I'm going to have you on the show, and I'm going to be talking about this juicy woman experience throughout the journey and bringing you back to talk about the things that, I've learned. I had someone on 2 weeks ago. Her name is Danielle Brooks. She wrote a book called Good Decisions Most of the Time. And she and I are meeting weekly. It's so good. It's Good Decisions. She's a nutritionist. So her book is all about nutrition and health. But she talks about emotional eating and how to find, she has a program called Finally Free, how to basically free yourself from emotional eating. And I've actually never employed coaches like this before, right? So I'm going to be one of her instructors in this Finally Free coursework.
Wow.
But I got to be finally free first. And so she and I have been meeting every week. We meet on Fridays for an hour from 10 to 11.
Okay.
And I said on the show that I was going to bring back 15 minutes of every show to bring people along. But she and I looked at that process and said there's a better way for us to do that. So we do have recordings every week and like 5 or 10 minutes that I'm going to share during future shows. But what I was going to say about you is you describe your 12-month university, Juicy Woman University. You described it. It's different because 100% of the women finish because you create a community, a family. You said if someone doesn't show up, you're like saying, hey, you're calling, you're reaching out, you're making the
My staff
effort.
will call you because we do roll call. How many courses do roll call? They just jump right in teaching.
Got your money,
with the
they're
webinar.
like, okay.
Yeah, if you show up or not, but hey, we're going to do our part, but whether you show up or not, that's not our concern. Not the case in Juicy Woman University. No, you being present on every call matters. That's one of the course agreements. That should be the intention. And if something happens, last minute emergency, you're to communicate. So if a call comes and goes and your voice wasn't heard and you didn't communicate, you're getting a phone call. You okay? How you doing? Your presence was missed. What's happening? So it isn't just a culture of care, but it's also a culture of learning how to show up for ourselves.
I think that's so hard for a lot of women. Is we're givers, we're doers, we're helpers. But basically, this show and the work that you do and the Juicy Woman University is a deep, deep dive on, like you said, tapping into experiencing divine joy, abundance, and success.
And nothing's wrong with being a helper or a doer or a nurturer, though most of us are just overdoers. We're not givers and nurturers because you can't truly give from an empty or depleted tank. So we've
Hold on, say that again.
You can't give from an empty tank, which most of us have, but you can overdo from an empty tank. So we're really not nurturers because you would have to be self-nurturing to extend that to someone else.
Wow.
So we might be over-mothering, overdoing, but nurturing, not so much, giving, not so much. But once you learn how to fill your tank up, then you can actually move into what would be authentically considered giving and authentically what would be considered nurturing. And but to be a helper doesn't automatically mean you neglect self. So that's the piece of the equation that's funky. Okay, helper, that's great. Being a doer, hey, that's great. But how come that's coming at the expense of self? That's where we know some twisted beliefs have gotten in there. And that's part of what we have to
unlearn.
Clean out, the pus.
See?
The pussy beliefs. Yeah.
Wow. I love this so much. So principle number 1, clear mind. What suggestions would you give to those watching? How do you clear your mind? How do you eliminate all the unnecessary distractions?
Well, it's a process because our minds are operating in the 9th gear. So it isn't just hey, do this, because we have years and years of a restless mind. So you have to, like let's say you had mud in a river, you would dredge it once, and then you got to go back and dredge it again. It isn't just one dredge after all these years of mud and silt, and now you drag a dredger through one time. No, you got to go back and do it multiple times. So it isn't just a quick, here's how you do it, because we would have done it if it was that easy, because having a cluttered mind, an overwhelmed mind has us make so many poor decisions, or be reactive, or be ripping and running, or be emotionally triggered easily. So it's a process. So in Juicy Woman University, where we want to get women to is where they are starting the top of each new day with a practice of sacred prayer and meditation. So most women have been misinformed about meditation, or they've been vaguely introduced to an Eastern tradition of meditation. They haven't been introduced to, for example, a Christian tradition of meditation. So there's just huge ignorance. And meditation is very useful to the mind and very useful in creating space in the mind and all of the influences and the other opinions and the toxic thinking and all these things we've taken on. It gives you a chance to release that so you can have space for the powerful, the empowering, right? So before we even move into trying to do something, it's like, first of all, understanding is jacked up. And so, I was talking to some young people, this was a few years ago, and they said, oh, well, at our church, our pastor says meditation opens your mind to the devil. I said, no, what happens is your mind is already open to the devil, and meditation has you take control back. And they're like, oh, we never thought of that. I said, you need to do your own research. Plus, meditation is biblical and scriptural. So that's very interesting to demonize a practice that Jesus did and was mentioned multiple times throughout Scripture. So, but if we haven't done our own reading, then someone can make a comment in authority, call a pastor, and we will ingest it as if it's truth, and we have not done any of our own checking. And so before we even talk about trying to clear your mind, like, we first got to check out what people's crazy notions are about meditation, or you will not do it because your pastor said, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
and I actually have to admit, when I think about the 7 laws of spiritual success, so Deepak, that's a book that I read literally 10 years ago. And it wasn't until this year where I spent a year in starting my own ministry and doing some work for myself that I was able to connect with all 7. And the hardest ones were the ones that I remember looking at this book in a dentist office over 10 years ago. And the first chapter had something to do with silence. And I'm a bit of an extrovert. So silence was not a place where I spent a lot of time, right? My mind, I used to have background noise even when I'm studying, right? Just to, and so I realized it's my special place now. Like, I love silence. That's when the answers flow. That's when you're able to really connect with the infinite possibilities.
You've got space.
So for me, you have actually space to actually, fill your cup. Especially if you're pouring out to others like we do on a regular basis, it feels like that silence is when my own cup gets filled. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
And based
and
on how our spirit
basically.
and based upon how our spirits are made, and again, it's not personal, it's how your spirit is made, is silence is very restorative. Totally. So you can see in a culture where we're on screens all the time and electronic energy is always being absorbed by our bodies, and then we have no silence, that our really our systems are stressed, our minds are stressed, and there's never a chance for them to quote unquote exhale. So it's a process. And even after doing 12 months in Juicy Woman University, the meditation side of prayer and meditation is still one of the biggest struggle areas that women have. Because we can pray, because that's talking, that's filling the space up. We know how to fill space up.
But I like what you said about prayer. You said pray unceasingly, but you also said it's only half of the practice. Because to me, praying is having the conversation. It's in the silence and the sitting and listening for the answer. That's the other half.
Exactly.
That's the most important half.
Well, they work together, because I wouldn't say that to speak and not be able to hear, that the hearing is more important. They work together. If you could only speak to me and could not hear my responses, we could have a conversation, but it wouldn't be anywhere near as rich if you now have the faculty of receiving and hearing. So the same thing with divine communication. So much of the power of divine communication is compromised because we're praying, and we are not aware there is another piece to this, and we've been mistaught, so it's absent. So that's why we don't just say, oh, take time for prayer. No, prayer and meditation. And when you look at the time women before Juicy Woman University, they'd only had time for prayer. Then they jump up to get their day started. There wasn't even time for the receive or the ear hearing function because they weren't taught that. They were taught pray.
And if you think about it, yes, I'll keep moving, because we could definitely have can you believe we have 14 minutes left?
Wow.
You see, I'm not even rushing this. I'm not, normally I'd be checking down the list. I'm good. If we get through deep on 2 of these principles, wherever we go
we
is
were only on number 1.
Wherever we go is where we were meant to go. I just need for people to understand the comprehensive nature of the gifts that you bring to the table. So how do they reach you again? It's
milliondollarmentor.net. And when they go to milliondollarmentor.net, there is an opportunity to sign up to stay connected. So the class is full for this year, but let's say someone wants to be on the list so they can be aware of next year's Juicy Woman University.
And then you're also a coach, so they can sign up for coaching.
Yeah, we can have an exploratory initial phone call. Yeah, yep. I don't just sign people up for coaching. We talk first, see if it's a fit. But yes, you can sign up for that exploratory conversation. All kinds of awesome articles and free gifts that are on the website. But
Great.
To send in your email address is how you can be aware of all the awesome different things I'm doing. This is just one of them, but it is my signature 12-month course. But I do stuff all over the country, and
I'm so excited to be a part of your world. And again, we're just going to keep it moving, and I will invite you back.
Great.
So we're going to keep talking. So clear mind.
Yes.
Number 2 principle for the Juicy Woman.
And these are no particular order.
No particular order.
Right.
Okay, I just kind of wrote them down in this order. Is a well body.
Wow. Yes, free of pain, even minor aches and pains. free of dis-ease and free of medication, including what you can buy at the drugstore. So I'm talking about Advil and Anacin and Bayer, Pepto-Bismol, Rolaids. That's still medication. So there was a time, and I remember a retreat that I did. This was back in the early 2000s. And I would ask how many women had, bodily aches and pains. And it would only be the women over 40 that hands went up. And none of the youngins would raise their hand, right? And not many years later, when I would do that same poll, now I see the hands of 30-year-olds, the hands of 20-year-olds going up. So something profound is happening with our bodies where it isn't an age-related reason that we are having aches and pains or dis-ease or imbalance, because now it's happening in happening in younger bodies. So that's why this is a characteristic of a juicy woman. And you may be 50 and be pain-free, or you could be 25 and have aches and pains all over the place. But because pain communicates, pain lets us know, it is one of the ways the body communicates with us. It is not to be ignored. It has a source, because our bodies are designed to be healthy and without pain. So if they are unhealthy and with pain, there are real reasons. And what we do in allopathic medicine and in the Western culture is we mask the pain, take the pain away instead of what's the source of the pain. Let's deal with root cause. So that is an element of the Juicy Woman lifestyle with regard to your body.
I love
then
that.
also in the course, we also teach, this is a premise now, that's a principle, a well body, but the premise, the belief is that your body is the divine living temple of the Holy Spirit. So that is not how most of us engage with our bodies, as if they're living temples. We treat them more like abandoned apartment buildings. Right? Okay. The body is an afterthought. It's treated like a thing, a machine. It is not treated like a living temple. So, so when you reorient, right, your choices, your decisions, your thoughts about your body truly arising out of my body's living temple, that's very different than my body is a thing to be worked out. My body is a thing to go get the nails done. My body's a thing to go get the hair on it done. It's a completely different level of engaging, right? And so after treating your body like a thing and an object for 40, 50, 30 years, and you only got 1 year to learn how to truly overhaul your thinking, just to overhaul the thinking takes a minute, not to mention the behaviors that align with the thinking.
Wow.
You see what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah. So that's a premise, and then this is a principle. The premise is the belief.
Did I say that I love you? Did you hear that?
I receive it.
Okay, thank you.
I receive
You're
it.
amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so excited about the Juicy Woman University. Okay, you will obviously see this beautiful woman again, and we'll obviously talk more about the Juicy Woman principles as I go through your 12-month Juicy Woman University.
Yes.
Hey. Okay, number 3. A juicy woman also has a principle. She has a full spirit, full of joy.
Yes, because she is taking time, and we believe in daily reconnection, daily practice of prayer and meditation, together both, so that you are communicating with and sending out communication, or you could say up, whichever direction works for you. And then there is also space and allowance for the receive, hear, listen aspect, which usually is not part of someone's spiritual devotion time. And then we believe in sacred set aside time. I hear so many women say, oh, well, I pray all the time. I pray while I'm in the shower. I pray when I'm driving to work. I pray when I'm washing dishes. I'm like, that's great that you have a prayer while you're ... We're talking about that being what you're doing, not it's getting added on as an addendum to other activity. I'm not saying stop doing that.
Because I pray in the shower. I used to call it a shower baptism. Yeah. Just let it flow over me. So I still do that.
So don't stop.
Exactly.
But that's not what we're talking.
Dedicated
sacred
time.
Set aside time. If we have
I love your choice of words. Not
Yeah.
just set aside time, but sacred set aside time.
Because you understand the value of it.
Exactly.
And you know that there is a profound divine and spiritual
And there's no child,
purpose.
there's no man, there's no laundry, there's no dishes, there's nothing that's going to come before you're sacred.
Right.
set aside time.
Yeah. It's first thing, top of your morning, before you check your IG account, before you check Facebook.
She's assuming I have social media, but I'm getting there. Okay. Oh my God, this is so wonderful.
Before one checks her IG account. I didn't mean you
Whatever it might be.
personally.
No, I meant that as a joke. You're wonderful. So, open heart. A juicy woman has an open heart.
Yes. So think of
And
our
she does
hearts
the healing work.
like
That's
a portal.
so huge.
Think of our hearts like a portal,
Mm-hmm.
which is really how they were kind of designed to be like a portal. And when we have experiences that happen, and as a result of them, we're left with the residue of low level emotions, it causes our hearts to close a little bit. So think of a wide open portal, nice and round and wide, and then something happens that you don't move that residual energy out, and boom, a few centimeters, the portal closes. Oh, then another week, another situation occurs at work. Boom, the portal closes.
Mm-hmm.
So most of us have a partially open heart. We don't have a fully open heart. So how do you reopen a heart that, for various reasons, has started to close centimeter by centimeter? Well, there's this spiritual technology we have called forgiveness. It's a process. It has 5 parts to it. You can do portions of it and it be incomplete, or you can do all of it and do it completely, and then you need to do it more than once. So when you look at how most people don't know what the 5 parts of forgiveness are, or most people did one part once or one part twice, but not the whole thing more than once,
Yes.
it eliminates a lot of us out of the picture. So most of us do not have an open heart because we haven't done complete forgiveness work, and we haven't done it more than once.
So there's some of these exercises we're going to do in detail on the show. I think that's one of them. We're going to come back and actually talk through some of the work, just explore a little bit more about what that actually means.
Yeah. Okay.
Like really talking through the 5 elements of forgiveness. I think a lot of people, because we're going to add that to a conversation we're going to have. I met this lady who focuses on trauma. And I think we as a people, we don't oftentimes acknowledge the emotions that we have. We don't pause to say, I'm feeling angry right now. Instead, we do some other thing to numb those feelings. I am hurt, by this thing, whatever it is. And so I think there's some combination of conversations we can have around that work, deeper conversations.
Yes.
So Mike just gave me the 5-minute warning. So that means I have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Which is okay, because this has been amazing. So the 5th principle of a juicy woman, she manages her energy wisely. This is a perfect place for us to transition as we close the show. Let's talk about managing energy wisely. What does that mean to you?
So what does it mean in terms of a juicy woman? So our focus is not first and foremost on time, because we've got 24 hours in a day based upon how long it takes for the earth to revolve once. So it's not an arbitrary number. It's for all of us 24 hours. There's no 25th hour to find or an hour you can lose, waste. You can't waste an hour. You got 24 hours. The question becomes how and where, on what, and with whom are you utilizing your energy? And when you shift out of the time paradigm to the energy paradigm, you start to have an experience of more spaciousness. When we focus on time, we tend to have an experience of scarcity. Never enough time to get everything I want done. I'm always running out of time. And we always feel like we're behind the 8 ball. Well, that's a function of that framework. But when you start to look at energy, then you start to look at the return on the investment of energy. You start to look at how reciprocal is the situation. You start to look at what effect does engaging in said thing have on my energy. Completely different thought process. And it gives you a very different experience in your life when you shift to the energy paradigm versus just time obsessed.
I love you. I absolutely adore everything about you. So Mike just gave us the 2-minute warning, and so when we end the show, this is something we're going to say together at the very end.
Got
it. We're not going to say it yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the last minute of the show.
Wow.
What words of wisdom would you share with someone out there who just they have a goal that they want to accomplish. They have a dream that they want to accomplish. It's, the beginning of the year. It's the beginning of a new decade. It's 2020.
Yeah.
What words of wisdom can you share with given all the wonderful things that you have to offer?
Well, I think so often, so many of the adages and quips and memes focus on, the fully lived life. But guess what? Today, Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed, and he was only 41, and that of his 13-year-old daughter. So to think of your whole life is way too big. A fully lived day, that's what we want to focus on.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? Use your time wisely. You're not promised tomorrow. Thank you for bringing that up. We actually talked about that at the beginning of the show, but I thank you for bringing that up. That's a perfect reminder for each of us. We're not promised tomorrow, and if we can live each day to the fullest, what an amazing day that is. Oh my goodness, what an amazing show, Debrina Jackson Gandy.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So this is how we end the show. It's bigger than me, baby.